Well, what if a function is not a linear function? So how are we going to find its inverse? Well, let's take the first example here, which is y is equal to x squared. So let's look at the graph of y is equal to x squared. Well, is this graph a function, and how do we know? Well, if you remember, you use the vertical line test. Use the vertical line test to determine whether a graph is a function or not. So vertical line. So if you construct a vertical line, and the vertical line intersects the graph at only one point, then the graph represents a function, right? Now there is another test that's called the horizontal line test, and it can be used to figure out whether a graph is, one-to-one. So if I draw a horizontal line, how many times does my red line cross the graph? Well, it intersects the graph 2 times. So that means it fails the horizontal line test. So if it fails the horizontal line test, that means the function is not one-to-one. So if it's not one-to-one, then that means its inverse is not a function. Well, what can we do to make the inverse a function? Let's see. We have here f of x is equal to x squared, but now its domain is restricted. So let's incorporate that restriction in the domain. Let's go back here. And let's say x is greater than or equal to 0 only. What happened? So your graph is now showing just the half part, right? So it's showing the part of the graph where the domain is starting from 0 all the way to positive infinity. So is this a function? Well, make a vertical line. So anywhere, that vertical line crosses your graph only once. Now, make a horizontal line. So how many times do your horizontal lines cross, the graph each time? Well, this is 1. This is also 1. So by restricting the domain to 0 to positive infinity, we came up with a graph that is representing a function. So since this is a function, then its inverse, this is a function and it is also one-to-one, then its inverse will also be a function. So how do we find the inverse? Well, we'll use the same method that we were using earlier. Switch x and y and get y by itself. So how do you get rid of the power 2? You square root it. So this will be equal to y is equal to, well, by definition, you have plus or minus radical x, right? Because the square root of a number could be positive or negative. Let's say square root of 4 could be positive 2 or negative 2. However, since we want all the values of x to be positive only, so we can now take out the negative part. So that means if you restrict the domain, then you're now limiting it to y is equal to square root of x. So let's graph that and see if it is a function. We have here y equals square root of x, okay? But remember, you're restricting it to, we call this x is greater than or equal to 0. Right. Okay, and we can see that, the graph formed by the inverse is also a function. It is also one-to-one because the domain for a square root function is, or consists of non-negative numbers. And last but not the least, if you draw the line y equals, y there. Okay, if I draw the line y is equal to x, so you can kind of see that these two graphs are actually mirror images or reflections of each other across the red line. That's interesting, right? So that's one way of finding the inverse of a nonlinear function in which the original function is not one-to-one. So what you can do is, you restrict the domain. There you go. Restrict the domain. And use the same procedure that we discussed earlier. You interchange the x and y, and then you get the y by itself. So what if your original function is a radical function or a square root function? Well, let's see. So y is equal to square root of x plus 2. So based on the function's graph, is it a function? Well, use the vertical line test. If any vertical line crosses the graph only once, then you know it is a function. So you agree that it is a function, right? Is it one-to-one? So what kind of test you're going to use is the horizontal line test. Based on the graph, it is also one-to-one. So since the original function is one-to-one, then our conclusion is the inverse, which we will write as f inverse, that's f to the negative 1 of x. So you read that as f inverse of x is a function. Now before we proceed, let's look at the domain and range of f of x. So if f of x is square root of x plus 2, then the domain will be, remember what we learned recently, the radicand cannot be negative, so x plus 2 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So in other words, x is greater than or equal to negative 2. Now what about the range? Now, the y values for a square root function are always greater than 0. That's the reason why you're restricting your domain from negative 2 onwards, so you can make sure that the y value is not negative, so it's greater than or equal to 0. Now this is important because later on when you find the inverse of the function, you probably need to restrict the domain as well. Well, why? Well, let's see. Let's do it. Let's have more page. Okay, more space. Extend the page. All right. So our original function is y is equal to the square root of x plus 2, right? How do we find the inverse algebraically now that we know that the inverse is a function? We switch the x and the y around, then we get the y by itself, right? So how do you remove the radical? You square both sides. So x squared is equal to y plus 2. Squaring this will cancel the radical sign. Move the 2 to the left, so x squared take away 2 is equal to 1. That's the inverse. Well, let's see. Let's graph it. Y equals x squared take away 2. Ooh. Is the inverse a function? It is, right? It passes the vertical line test. But is it one-to-one? If you have a horizontal line here or there, the
horizontal line touches the graph twice, so it's not one-to-one. Well, how do we make it a one-to-one function? Remember what I mentioned earlier? These are the domain and range of the original function. And if you relate this to finding the inverse of ordered pairs or table of values, the x coordinates and the y coordinates around. So switch around. In other words, the domain and the range are also switched, okay, for the inverse. So that means the domain of your inverse will be x is greater than or equal to 0, right? And the range of your inverse will be the domain of the original function, which is x is greater than, I'm talking about the range, so I have to do y. So y is greater than or equal to -2. So let's see how that information will affect our graph. So we want the domain to be greater than or equal to 0 only. Ooh, so look at that. So is this resulting graph, after restricting the domain, one-to-one? Definitely. And if you graph y equals x, do they look like they're mirror images of each other? Yep. Okay, so for nonlinear functions, we have that additional step of finding that restricted domain that will make the inverse a function and one-to-one. So in this case, we learned that we follow the same procedure, which is interchanging x and y, right? And then get the y by itself. But after that, we had to adjust the domain of the inverse depending on what the range of the original function was. So that's an example for inverses of nonlinear functions. Well, let's see.